So with the success of Batman Begins and The Dark Knight, Christopher Nolan finally releases a 4-year wait of The Dark Knight Rises, and I was not going to wait any longer, and I went and saw the 5 o'clock AM showing like today, and oh my god, my head is still spinning after having seen it. So these are the thoughts just after seeing the film, but yeah, there's quite a bit talked about, and don't worry, there will be no spoilers whatsoever in this whole review. So the story picks up 8 years after the events of The Dark Knight, and people are still dwelling on the fact of what happened at the end of Dark Knight. So it's not like, oh, they've just like brushed it off. Like, Batman's missing in action, and no one really sees, you know, Bruce Wayne anymore, and you know, the whole city like praises, you know, Harvey Dent, but you know, Gordon's living, this is whole living on a lie, and Gordon knows about it, and you kind of see how it affects him, but you also see how it affects like other casts as well. Like for instance, Alfred, Michael Caine comes back as Alfred, and you actually see how much he doesn't really, you get his like true feelings of Bruce Wayne, like being Batman from the beginning and whatnot, and what he really feels what Bruce Wayne should have done, like even before he came back to Gotham. But along with all this, there's a new sort of terror coming approach in the form of Bane, and Bane is wreaking like destruction. You know, this guy is a fucking tank, man. He's like, you don't see like a guy sort of like this like in sort of any other film. I mean, I'm sorry, if you had to take what Sylvester Stallone, Arnold Schwarzenegger, you know, anyone at their prime, Bane would just tear them apart because he is just a fucking machine. And of course, there's Anne Hathaway's Selina Kyle, Catwoman, and let's just say she did a really, really good job. Now, it's, to be honest, right, you have to compare this to Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman, but the difference is, right, whereas Michelle Pfeiffer wasn't really more of a thief like Catwoman is in the comics, she was more like a psychopath, whereas this one, Catwoman in The Dark Knight Rises, is a thief, not really psychopathic, but the thing is, she steals for reasoning, not just because she wants to, but she steals for reasoning, and that's really quite interesting. Of course, we need to talk about Batman himself. You kind of see that the pain that Christian Bale puts through for the role of Bruce Wayne and Batman, and it's quite because it's I think about early along in the film where, you know, Bruce Wayne is starting to think, right, I need to get back into Batman shape and whatnot, and he thinks like, oh, putting on the mask and whatnot, you're gonna sort of become Batman. He realises that that's kind of like a big mistake, and that sort of comes like repercussions for him. Now, I know what people are going to say, what storyline this is following. You've pretty much got a good idea of what's going to happen in the film, but this is the genius of Christopher Nolan's films. Like, you think you know something well, you think you've got the grip of the story, and all of a sudden, it twists, it changes, like there's twists, there's turns, and it's just really amazing. And one character I do have to give a standout is Joseph Gordon-Levitt as John Blake. Like, this guy really did well in this film. Like, the problem, people were wondering whether Tom Hardy was going to be good as Bane, was Anne Hathaway going to be as Catwoman, but a lot of people were talking about, you know, Joseph, and I thought that's quite a shame, but he actually is really good, and the film kind of like helps him through this whole sort of journey, and it's just interesting to see how good this character is. But there is probably maybe one of two things maybe wrong with it. It's just minor things, like I think they could have added a bit more sort of time, because I think some scenes do end a bit sort of quickly too much, and there's a couple of like wee bit hairs and tears there, but other than that, this film is just really, really, really good. So, what's my score? What am I giving this film? it's getting a 10 out of 10 because it's epic. It's so epic. And let's be honest here, right? I went and saw this 5 o'clock in the morning. There was 2 showings at my cinema, and they were both sold out. And as soon as we started to leave, there was people already started queuing outside to catch the next showing. So obviously this film is going to do really, really well. How well? Well, that's another video for another time, probably the next couple of days or whatnot. But listen, this is something that you don't hear of, right? You don't hear of a director, right, who makes a film based on a comic book, right, and is able to do a trilogy, right? The only one ever known to do that is Sam Raimi with the Spider-Man films. But the problem with Sam Raimi films is everyone wants to forget about the third one, and not a lot of people are never going to forget about this trilogy. This is by far the perfect trilogy. You could even say this is like the Star Wars of our generation, if you actually think about it. In fact, there's a nice wee picture I've put right here that will explain what I'm actually talking about. But also, I know you're probably going to think, is it better than The Dark Knight, or is it even better than The Avengers? Well, let me answer the second one. I do think it's better than The Avengers, but not by a mile, by a whisker, to be honest. Like, the thing is, I didn't know what I was expecting from this film, whereas The Avengers, I did know what I was expecting from it. And is it better than The Dark Knight? So far, it's not as good as The Dark Knight, because The Dark Knight is literally like the godfather of the whole comic book genre. But that might go back and forth now and again, depending on how many times I see it and what I honestly feel about it. But after you've watched this review or any other review of this film, go out now and see it. Like, go now, because it's going to, in fact, get online, book on a ticket now, because it's going to be, this film's going to be sold out for, not for this weekend or for this week, but I think for the next few weeks or so.